Hello, everyone. So my goal today is to lead you through some developmental concepts, to give you a basic background on induced pluripotent stem cells and their differentiation. And as you all know already, it's not always an easy game to control cell fate. Okay. Yeah. So induced pluripotent stem cells are generated from somatic cells. They behave like pluripotent cells with the capacity to differentiate to any cell type of the adult body, neural cells, liver cells, cardiac cells, and therefore they are a unique tool for cell therapy as once differentiated, they can be transplanted back to regenerate a failing organ. And so iPS cells have offered, as you know, a potential replacement for embryonic stem cells, avoiding the ethical and practical issues associated with human embryonic stem cells. Although safety concerns remain, but still they are a powerful tool to study development and cell function, but also disease modeling and drug discovery. So since the introduction of the iPS cells technology in 2006, the number of specific publications on this topic has constantly been increasing, although so far no therapy based on pluripotent stem cells has found its way into routine clinical use. And there is now over 100 clinical studies focusing on ophthalmic disease, neurological disorder, and also cardiovascular disease. But there is only a limited number of trials on the actual transplantation of pluripotent stem cells into patients, and mostly in the field of eye disease for macular degeneration or retinal dystrophy. So what is the definition of stemness? These cells are undifferentiated, and they have the ability to make unlimited copy of themselves. And this is called self-renewal. And they also have the ability to generate the diversity of a huge diversity of specialized cell type. And this is called the differentiation potential. So this is a schematic, an illustration of the function of a stem cell. And the function of a stem cell is to produce diverse progeny and precursor, of a large variety of cell lineage with the capacity to proliferate. And this is an essential and fundamental process of life. Cell development involves large reorganization of the genome architecture, which forms the basis of gene regulation that leads to change from one cell type to another cell type until the generation of fully differentiated cells with a specialized function. And this transition from embryonic stem cells from an uncommitted state to a differentiated state involves the global activation of specific programs requiring change at various cellular regulatory levels involving transcriptome, proteome, epigenome, methylome. And during this change, pluripotency factors are silenced and lineage-specific programs are activated in an orchestrated manner, in very finely tuned fashion. So the Waddington epigenetic landscape model is often used to illustrate this progressive restriction in the differentiation potential of cells during development. Embryonic stem cells take a path to develop into a more mature differentiated cells state that we call intermediate progenitor, to further differentiate into a fully specialized somatic cells. And this is illustrated as a ball rolling down from the top of the mountain down the bottom of a valley. And in other words, this model illustrates the various developmental pathway or lineage routes pluripotent cells might take toward differentiation until during the development, of course, but also in vitro in response to extrinsic stimuli. However, there is now seminal experiments demonstrating that cells have plasticity and cellular reversibility. Indeed, it's possible to revert mature differentiated cells into pluripotency by somatic cell reprogramming, and use these induced pluripotent stem cells to differentiate to another somatic lineage. And it is also possible to bypass the need of a pluripotent intermediate stage by expressing ectopic tissue-specific transcription factor to allow a lineage-committed cells to convert to another cell fate. And in other words, this conversion of a differentiated cell type present in one tissue or organ into another cell type from another lineage or organ. And this is called direct reprogramming or transdifferentiation. And it's also known as a direct cell fate conversion. Thus, on this landscape, it would be the ball moving from one valley to another valley across the ridge. And so I'll stop here with the definition because you'll know more about the epigenetic program of the somatic genome and how it can be erased and how cells can be rejuvenated to pluripotency from Jean-Marc Lemaitre, who will be presenting during the next webinar. So there is a distinct type of stem cells from earlier stage of embryonic development throughout adult life, from totipotency in the zygote through pluripotency before implantation, following by multipotency during organ development and adulthood. And importantly, you have to visualize that stem cells lose their differentiation capacity and also the proliferation potential as lineage commitment, as they go through lineage commitment and differentiation process. So pluripotency is a transient state in vivo. Indeed, pluripotent cells are found in a very short window of time in developing embryo. And following implantation, pluripotent epiblast will have the ability to differentiate into the 3 germ layers, ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm, which all the tissue and organs are derived. So adult multipotent or somatic stem cells can generate only the cell type for the specific tissue or organ they are living in. For example, blood-forming stem cells don't generate liver or lung cells, and stem cells in another tissue or organs don't generate blood cells. And some tissue and organ within your organ contain small place called niche of tissue-specific stem cells, whose job is to replace cells that are lost in normal day-to-day living, like cells in your skin, blood, or the lining of your gut, or following injury. And these tissue-specific stem cells are to be distinguished from mesenchymal stem cells. That refers to cells isolated from stroma, the connective tissue that surround the organs. They call MSCs, and they were first discovered in bone marrow. And were shown to be capable of only making bone, cartilage, and fat cells. So, following the description in vivo, we know how to derive and maintain those stem cells. So the pluripotent stem cells or adult stem cells in vitro. And this offers the possibility of generating valuable source of cells for tissue replacement and therapy, but also for developmental study. So different cultural conditions were developed to maintain and use this state in vitro. Human embryonic stem cells were established 17 years after the mouse counterpart, derived from the ICM of a blastocyst stage embryo. And this generated great excitement, particularly in the field of regenerative medicine. But because these cells are derived from an embryo, the application have a considerable ethical concerns. So to bypass this ethical concern, 8 years later, somatic differentiated cells were reprogrammed into pluripotent state using specific transcription factor. And these induced pluripotent stem cells share many of the same characteristics of the embryonic stem cells, including the ability to give rise to all the cell types in the body, but without the ethical concern. So here, this schematic is to review the signaling factors that are indicated in green. It's a very busy slide, such as FGF, Wnt, BMP, and these signaling factors influence lineage differentiation for different tissue or organs. So starting from the primary germ layer, the ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm, and the application of all this knowledge to in vitro differentiation of pluripotent stem cells was very valuable. So as for a long time, strategy to manipulating stem cells differentiation in vitro were based on the knowledge of the mechanisms by which lineage decisions are made during vertebrate embryogenesis, and mostly from genetic studies in the mouse model. For example, the mesoderm layer progress towards distinct developmental fate, including paraxial mesoderm at the origin of the sclerotum, which will give rise to bone and cartilage. But paraxial mesoderm cells in here, under the influence of other signaling factors, can also give rise to dermomyotome and differentiate into dermis and muscles. So with years of effort done by stem cell community and large amount of data coming from more recent omic technology, we now have many different protocols successfully directing the differentiation of pluripotent stem cells toward many cell types of endoderm and mesoderm derivative, for example. And as you're all aware, directing the differentiation to specific cell type require considerable amount of optimization of the precise concentration, timing, and combination of factor and small inhibitor molecules. And for the past 10 years, conversion strategies have been developed, and they consist in forcing expression of specific transcription factor for a particular lineage to directly convert cell fate. For example, I've been highlighting a few here, to convert fibroblast to a cardiomyocyte or hepatocyte or dopaminergic neuron, with, for each of this lineage, a specific pioneer factor that are able to drive the fibroblast cells to another cell fate. And this is called, as I was mentioning before, direct cell conversion or transdifferentiation. Thus, using all this knowledge, EPS cells provide a renewable source with the ability to differentiate into all adult cell types. As I said, to study development or disease, and for cell therapy, but in particular for intervertebral disc regenerative medicine. So back to embryo, lineage tracing study in the mouse model have demonstrated that embryonic notochord, this axial rod-like structure, you can see here expressing brachyury in the embryo, develop into nucleus pulposus, the heart of the intervertebral disc. And as we know now that the loss of these notochord-derived cells often lead to disc degeneration. And in the lab, we are studying the molecular and cellular mechanism underlying the differentiation, the maturation, and the transformation of the notochord into the nucleus pulposus. And within the eSpine consortium, we all aim to better understand the biology of notochordal cell as progenitor cells of the nucleus pulposus, but also as regulators of the disc homeostasis. And due to poor accessibility of the human native cells, they are also extremely difficult to be maintained and expanded ex vivo. iPS-derived notochordal cells represent a real value for the development of cell-based therapy to regenerate the disc. So notochord plays a vital role in maintaining disc integrity, and this has been shown in several animal models and in human, and it is why notochord is interesting for IVD regenerative medicine. And there is a substantial amount of work demonstrating that these notochordal cells secrete factors with regenerative potential on other disc cells. These factors can be found in conditioning medium, matrix, or extracellular vesicles, and they regulate NP cell phenotype. They also control they protect NP cells from apoptosis and increase NP cells proliferation, but also control the synthesis of GAG and the production of GAG. So, although there is now several publications reporting the generation of notochord-like cells, starting from embryonic stem cells or iPS stem cells in a mouse or in human, there is no consistent high-quality source of human notochord-like cells that can be used for transplantation to regenerate NP tissue. And the major limitation is the very little knowledge we have in human of signaling pathways and transcriptional regulator implicated in notochord formation and disc maturation at each developmental stage. And for this reason, the study of stem cell differentiation into NP-like cells has become a real challenge in the IVD field. So now, how can you generate human notochord cells using iPS cells? What are the growth factors, the cytokine, the extracellular matrix and substrate stiffness that would promote notochordal lineage? So in contrast to the deep knowledge, and this is a very busy slide showing all the work that we have on ways to differentiate iPS toward endoderm and mesoderm, there is actually very, very limited knowledge available regarding the differentiation towards axial mesoderm progenitor and notochordal cells. And in the lab, we started with the knowledge we had from the mouse embryonic model. So notochordal cells are derived from the node or embryonic organizer, and this is this small area here, the node at the distal tip of the embryo, and it's about 100 cells, very little number. You can see here marked with the GFP, so those notochordal cells are migrating out of the node to form the notochord. So genetic study in the mouse have shown that there is 3 key transcription factors expressed in the node: brachyury, FOXA2, and noto. And they're required for the formation of the notochord. And the node organizer is the transient structure visible from embryonic day 7.5, and it disappears at day 9. And epiblast stem cells, the pluripotent cells, they lose their pluripotency and acquire distinct mesodermal and endodermal lineage identity as they progressively ingress through the primitive streak, and in the same time undergoing epithelial to mesenchyme transition. And all these events are very finely tuned and controlled by the major signaling pathways: TGF-beta nodal, Wnt, FGF, BMP, and these pathways are finely tuned to allow the emergence of each of these lineage. And in Nantes, we were interested in reproducing the specification of axial mesoderm and notochord in vitro. So our plan was to generate disc cells from human iPS, and in recapitulating in vitro the critical lineage induction events of the early embryo. So first, we would induce iPS to differentiate into anterior primitive streak and nascent node using relevant signaling pathways such as TGF-beta nodal and Wnt, and then direct the differentiation of this mesenderm progenitor, mesenderm precursor cells, into embryonic notochord using a combination of Wnt, sonic shock, and FGF activity. And the different step of the differentiation can be followed by specific marker, and in particular by the noto marker, which is expressed in this tissue at all this early stage of development. Then we will further maturate the embryonic notochord into adult cells, and finally validate the terminal differentiation into nucleopulpocyte, because this has never been formally demonstrated in vitro. So after many trials using distant combination of growth factor supplementation and small inhibitory molecule, we conclude that Wnt signaling pathway activation is sufficient for the commitment of iPS towards a multipotent mesenderm progenitor. Indeed, the activation of the Wnt pathway in differentiating iPS induced TGF-beta factor nodal and its inhibitor. However, when differentiation was further analyzed, we detected endoderm and mesoderm derivatives, but none of the conditions tested with Wnt FGF signaling pathway, we could lead to the induction of the node notochord specific marker noto. So no differentiation towards the notochordal lineage. And it was only when we overexpress the noto transcription factors in the mesenderm progenitor that we could really drive and see the emergence of axial mesenderm at day 3. So we conclude that noto is essential to trigger the emergence of axial mesoderm at day 3. And all together, this result demonstrated that this noto overexpression and Wnt signaling pathway was sufficient to induce a stable population of human notochord at day 7. Thus, the following a phase of specification of mesenderm progenitor in vivo and the overexpression of noto, these cells were directed towards notochord-like cells, expressing notochord-related marker, as you can see here on this immunofluorescence analysis, and RNA-seq transcriptomic study identifies several genes whose expression is highly sensitive to notoprotein level in meson-dedans progenitor. And interestingly, some of them were such as N-cadherin, fibronectin, type 2, cytokeratin 18, and others were found expressed in notochordal cells in the human healthy disc tissue. So continuing this work with the eSpine project coordinated by Mariana, we could improve robustness and the yield of the notochord-like cells, although the number of cells recovered at day 7 is still not satisfactory. And Nicolas Vedren made all this improvement on method robustness and also trying to select NSC cells, but we end up concluding that there were very high heterogeneity at day 7 in the differentiation, and we do need to study the developmental pathway for notochordal lineage, and using a technology that is very specific and have a big potential. The single-cell RNA-seq, to exactly identify the heterogeneity and analyze different types of the NRC differentiation to know more about the developmental pathways that are crucial to for the emergence of the notochord lineage. We also need to optimize, of course, EPS differentiation and to maturate those notochord-like cells towards mature and functional cells, and this could be done by a 3D culture with different instructive physical chemical stimuli, and we also want to, so this is just the works we've been starting to try to culture the notochord-like cells in 3D and see how they self-organize and how they differentiate later. And that's finished. I thank you a lot for your attention.